Nice. So we're going to do a quick creative healing process together. And just to show you how simple this could be, I'm just going to use a simple, I got this out of my recycle bin, it's just a piece of printer paper and a pen. You can use a highlighter if that's what you have. I have also this colored pencil. You can use Sharpies. My point is that you can use whatever is near you and making it simple. This is not something you're going to frame. It's not something you're going to send to the Smithsonian for consideration on their walls. It's literally a place to hold your energy. It's like a portal that allows you to have access to some things that are going on inside, to either untangle emotional energy or to get a better insight on something or to get a different perspective so that you can come at something that you're working with from a different angle. Because if we just keep coming at it from the same angle and it's not working, that's, as Einstein says, the definition of insanity. So I just want you to know this is utterly simple. You could do this in 5 minutes, or you could take it into a much more deep and longer experience if you so chose as well. But just to get you started, there are 4 elements to a creative healing process. So we'll go through each one. I'll also type these out for you so that you have access to that. But and so the first, let's just talk about the first, the point. Like, the point of this is that we're going to set an intention for something that we would like to shift. And initially pick something that's not driving you to drink per se, but just is a little bit of an irritant so that you can just get a feeling for how this works, how it feels in your system, how ways you may want to tweak it. But initially it's a little wobbly at first, so don't expect this to feel really fabulous. It's an experiment that you're doing to kind of get a general idea on how the simple act of doodling, and there's a lot of research on this, the simple act of making a mark on a page actually can change our energy. And in an overarching way, and the National Institutes of Health have done a lot of research on this, so has a lot of other places. This is coming more and more online, is that the act of doing a creative process is as effective as meditation on many levels. It increases our immune function and our medical outcomes. It lowers anxiety. It lowers stress. It lowers cortisol. It helps with social connection. There's a long list, actually. I have a whole research page on my website. But let's just go and have fun for a minute, shall we? So we're going to draw a heart, and we're going to start out by drawing one of those spiral things, because our brain, our system really loves that. There's something about that spiral image that is really alluring to our brain. And then just draw the other side of the heart. And you can play with this and make it a little bit more even or whatever if you like. But this is our image, and there's something really potent and powerful about images and visuals and words and marks that get us past our mind and into our subconscious mind. This is why this process works, because it bypasses our intellect in a lot of cases. Now, it's not like our intellect still isn't online saying, oh, that was a stupid line, or what, now you have to do this 2 or 3 times. The intellect's still going to have her say in it. But what we're really trying to do is get past her gates and get into where there's some juicier, like subconscious material to work with in terms of shifting our behaviors, our patterns, and healing aspects of ourselves, and getting into where there's more dimension to our beingness. So okay, so that's that. So then what you're going to do is you're going to write your intention in here, and I'm just going to write my intention as ease. I'm going to make this really simple. This could be any number of things. It could be eating healthier. It could be a better relationship with time. It could be softening your judgment of yourself. It could, or another. There's so many things that we could set an intention for. And I'm going to say in particular, ease around how many hours a night I sleep. I have this weird thing where I'm constantly calculating how many hours I've slept, and then that often, it doesn't do it as much as it used to, but it can often determine how I feel that day, which is kind of silly, but it's what I do, and it's one of the things I'm working with, and there's lots of things like this, so there's plenty of material that we could apply to a creative healing process, let me just say. So, so just so you have that that backstory about why I'm choosing ease. And then you can write 2 or 3 things on the outside of your heart that you're willing to shift in order to access more ease. So in my case, I'm willing to stop myself in the middle of calculating how many hours I slept and how deep it was and how many times I got up to pee and whether or not that all strung together in a way that's going to allow me to feel good in my day. That all happens, or it can happen if I let it, like right when I start to come into conscious awareness after I wake up. And I'm tired of it, to be honest with you. So I am willing to, for example, I would write down, I'm going to stop myself in that, and I'm going to shift my awareness to, trusting that every breath I breathe brings vitality into my system, and that is as enlivening as a good night's sleep. So that's like one of the things I'm playing with. And then write 2 or 3 other things that you're willing to change. And a lot of times, and this is true for in this case and in every case I work with changing something in my life, a lot of times, and almost one of the things that should be on our list is this willingness to moment by moment stay present and to pull back the tendency of our smaller mind to go down a rabbit hole with an opinion or a judgment or a criticism or a conclusion about how something is. So for example, if it's 11 o'clock in the morning and I feel tired, I'd be like, oh man, it's because I didn't sleep last night, and that's the beginning of the rabbit hole. And so I just pull that back. Well, wait a minute now. Let me just take a breath here. I'm just going to set that aside. I'm not going to let that determine how this moment and the rest of my moments will go, because the rest of my moments will go unfolding how this moment is, right? So this moment connects to the next moment that's very similar to this moment, and it just kind of does a domino thing. And I'm not willing for the rest of my day to be determined by this moment if it's a icky one, if it's an unwise or undirected by my higher wisdom moment. So I pull that noticing, that observation of judgment back, and I take a breath. And if you watched the time videos, the one video on judgment, I talk about how I offer that to the light, and I literally watch it be transmuted, and then I require that energy be sort of served back to me in a more serving form of energy, other than my thinking and my conclusion that I'm going to feel like shit the rest of the day because I only slept 5 hours, right? So, and then you just identify 2 or 3 things that are really important that you tend in order to access your intention, in order to start cultivating your intention to come to life more than it currently is. That is how we change our energy. If the things that are out here that are dominating how things go don't change, then they'll just keep going that way. So we put what's important to us in our heart, and then we put the things that we are going to remind ourselves that we're going to shift and that we're going to give over to our higher wisdom. Sometimes I don't actually know exactly what to do, but I know that happens. So I just stop, I take a breath, I offer it to divine love, and I ask to be shown what is a better way to see this. And then that's what you do. Now, I forgot to tell you that before you start this, you have the option, depending on how much time you have, to go into some sort of a ritual, to take some deep breaths and invite your higher wisdom in. If you have a lot of time, you could light candles or burn sage or put on music and, make it a real beautiful ritual for yourself. But you don't have to. If you're sitting at your desk, just taking a couple of deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth with the very clear intention of inviting your higher wisdom, your higher intelligence, inviting divine love, put your hand on your heart, then you will have access to that part of yourself that's connected to the greater fabric of love in the universe, right? And that will help you to make the shift. And sometimes, if you're someone who likes to listen to drumming because it like puts you, how sometimes some drumming that's very intentional and sacred, it literally pounds and goes to the beat of your own heart. So sometimes just tapping your desk or your board. And we do this sometimes automatically. It can help just bring us into a focus, right? So there's 4 parts to this. The first part is having the invitation, the preparation. The second part is the intention. I did those 2 backwards. And then the third part is having the drawing, which I also did out of line. It doesn't really matter what order you do this. I'm just going to give them to you in a certain order, but what I did is not in that order. The last one, and this is important that it's last, is that once you get all of your components to the piece that you're trying to work with, and I will say it's a little bit more successful if you break any issue or situation down into its smallest part. If you try to do a big broad brushstroke thing, then it's a little hard to know where to focus. So if you narrow it down, like rather than saying, let's just use nutrition as an example, rather than saying, well, I want to go fully plant-based so I can heal my heart markers. That is a great intention, by the way, but you might start with something smaller, like 1 meal at a time, or the fact that, let's just say, maybe you don't love a lot of vegetables. So your intention would be to discover the vegetables that you would be willing to eat, and the handful of fruits that do work for you, so that you can actually have a relationship with food that you are willing to reach for and actually eat, rather than it being just this big, huge thing that you don't feel connected to, and that feels overwhelming, and you don't know where to start, and so you don't start. That's what happens to a human mind. If things feel too big, too overwhelming, we just tend to sort of back off and keep doing the same thing we're doing. So break your intentions down to smaller components so that you actually can get in and create a different relationship with it, right? That's the whole idea. So the very last thing you're going to do is you're going to do this, right? Do all those 3 steps. So you'll do your setup. That can include your preparation, your ritual, your invitation. Set your intention. Write your intention so it's clear. I'm shorthanding this, by the way. You can write as much as you want in here, just so that it's clear. Don't get too wordy, because the mind loves to complicate things, and the spirit and the heart are actually more on the simple side of things. So if it's getting too complicated, maybe pare it down and make it a little more simple so that it feels clean and easy to access, right? You want to have easy access to the intention. Like the idea of accessing ease around sleep, clear to me. There's nothing sticky or unclear or confusing about that to me. And then the pieces that you're willing to do some shifting around, even if you don't know how to actually do that now, you'll be having on the outside of your heart. This is your clear focus, your clear intention. The last part is where you're asking your own higher wisdom to reflect back to you from this page what it is that she would have you know. What are the insights that she would have you know about this particular piece, about this particular intention? And often I will just take a minute, I'll step aside, I'll set this down, I'll lean it up against something, and then I'll go get a cup of tea, and I'll come back and I'll just simply ask. And it's important to do this without a whole lot of tension around it, because the more we contract and tense around something, the harder it is for energy to get in to give us that insight, right? To give us the awareness of shift, the healing of our consciousness, the healing of the way we're thinking about it, to open up a different way of seeing it, a new point of view, a new perspective. So, but when you ask it and you just say, give me your insights, I'm ready and I'm receptive to receive what you would have me know about this. It might come right away, and it might take a little bit of time. It might take an overnight process. You might need to sleep on it. And then maybe you come back in the morning and or you get awarenesses in your sleep, or you get awarenesses in the shower. But if you just stick with it, and not a tight way, and this is a good practice. This is the meaning of non-attachment. This is a good practice for non-attachment. When we say we want something, most of us get really attached to that, and we're just like hunkered down into the attachment, and that doesn't leave room for energy to flow to cause the shift or the change or the transformation or the healing around the thing, right? So this is a really good way of building the muscle of non-attachment. This is my intention. These are the things I think I need to shift. What would you have me know? Show me what is my next best step about this. You can ask in any number of ways, and your higher wisdom will feed back to you. And this was just the bouncing off place. This is the way to get things started. This was the way to get things opened up. This was the way to bring your heart into the issue, the problem that you are looking for a solution for. So play with this, and I want to hear how it goes. Let me know some of the insights that come forward for you. Lori Morse, author of Reverse Heart Disease Naturally, and the creator of the 7 Steps to Creating a Healthy Heart.